Welcome to the Power of One. As you know, gun violence in the city of Philadelphia is out of control. It is affecting children, working adults, innocent bystanders, and everyone as a whole. It is so scary to think that you can walk outside of your door and your life be altered or ended by gun violence. There is little security in knowing that you or your loved one may make it to the hospital in time to survive. Temple University Hospital trauma doctors are amazing, and they spend their time fighting to make sure people live after being shot. They go above and beyond. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Amy Goldberg, Surgeon-in-Chief for Temple University Hospital, and Dr. Goldberg was recently appointed the interim dean for the School of Medicine for Temple University Hospital. I will also be speaking with Rasheed DeShields. He was shot 4 times, once in the back of the head, once in the front of the head, once in his left eye, and once in the neck. And he was actually treated by Dr. Goldberg. Rasheed and Dr. Goldberg, welcome to the show. Dr. Goldberg, we'll begin with you. Congratulations on being appointed as the interim dean for Temple University School of Medicine. You've devoted over 30 years of your life to helping people affected by gun violence. Tell me how injuries have changed over the 30 years with the different types of weapons people are using.
Well, first, thank you, Melany, for having me on today. And thanks for your wishes, your well wishes. I think mainly, 30 years ago, we actually saw a lot more stabbings than we did shootings. And when we saw shootings, the bullets were of a smaller caliber. Unfortunately, now we see bullets of a much larger caliber. Everyone seems to be coming in with multiple gunshot wounds. And even patients we see now with really high energy, AK-47s and rifles like that.
Okay. What is the hardest part of your job besides telling a mother or father or family member that their loved one did not survive?
I really think it's that interaction that I have with the patient in the trauma bay. Because more often than not, the patients are awake and they're worried. And they're worried that they're going to die. And I think it's that interaction, looking into the patient's eyes and them being scared and worried whether they're going to die or not. I think that is truly the hardest thing that I do.
Okay. How will your responsibilities change now that you have been appointed the interim dean for the School of Medicine? Will you still work in the hospital?
So I will still work in the hospital. I'm still doing about 3 nights of trauma call a month. So I'll still be down there in the emergency room. I'll still be doing some time in the surgical intensive care unit. But my other focus will be with the education of our students over in the medical school and working with our researchers.
Okay. And Dr. Goldberg, I want to personally thank you. You saw a need and you acted upon that need in bringing trauma advocates to Temple University Hospital. The team that you have in place is a power team. You have Scott, Ian, Leslie, Rose, Sadiqa. They are professional, they are passionate, and they are dynamic. You and Scott actually took it a step further and collaborated with the community-based agencies around the Temple University area, Northwest Victim Services being one of them, because we have a lot of victims that come into Temple. Please speak about our collaboration and what you see for the future.
Yeah, we are grateful for you and what you do. A big shout out to Scott, because, if it weren't for Scott, bringing all the different agencies together, all of us were motivated by one thing, and that was, how can we help our patients and our families? And, truly our victim advocates that are here within the hospital and down in the emergency room in the trauma bays, they do God's work. They are there with us side by side, helping us speak to the families. If we as the physicians have to run off and take care of other patients, they are there to sit with the families and help them, through this terrible time. And then, of course, help our patients transitioning, back into the community with resources. So it's just been such a wonderful collaboration, between Temple, the agencies, between our advocates and our patients and families, the interactions of the doctors and nurses with the advocates. It's just, we are so, so fortunate to have them and to have you helping us and helping our patients and their families.
Yes, thank you so much. And again, I thank you so much for not only knowing about the need, but acting upon the need. And I can email, text, or call Scott the weekend, the evening, the wee hours of the morning, and he's replying. So I take my hat off to you, Dr. Goldberg. I take my hat off to the trauma team, and I thank you so much for all that you do in saving the lives of those affected by gun violence. Thank you so much, Dr. Goldberg.
Oh, thank you, Melany. Scott's used to me texting him at all hours of the night. So I think when you're texting him, it's either me or you that he's used to getting texts from in the middle of the night. But we're really grateful. It's just, it's so needed, and we are so appreciative.
Well, thank you so much. On January 9th, 2021, Rasheed was fighting for his life. Here we are going into the new year, and he's faced with a serious crisis, gun violence. Rasheed, tell me what happened to you on January 9th, 2021, right up to the time where you lost consciousness.
Well, that night, actually, I was coming from a store, just getting something small to eat real quick. And I was approached by 4 gentlemen coming out of the store, which was an attempted robbery. It turned out to be like a robbery gone wrong. I ended up shot multiple times. I was rushed to Temple Hospital, where I underwent like an immediate surgery. And they saved my life. Dr. Goldberg, she miracle hands, if you will, miracle hands, her and her team. And then through the graces of God, it all just works out, and many aren't so fortunate, but, they at least do everything that they possibly can. They respond fast, and, I just refer to it as miracle hands, because I honestly, she's right when she says she looks into your eyes, and it's just like, as the victim, you're just wondering, am I going to survive this? The most scariest part is it can be a good thing and a bad thing. The most scariest part is just seeing that all those surgeons are around you. It's just like, how did I even get here in the first place? But on the flip side, them being there is what also makes you feel safe, secure, that you're in the right hands. You're just hoping that the damage isn't so bad that you don't survive it. So, yeah.
Right. Now, Rasheed, if you don't mind sharing with us, where were you shot and how many times?
I was shot 4 times in the head down Kensington and Allegheny, right on a street called Wishart.
And you were shot 4 times in the head?
Well, yeah, one in the neck, but it was just above the shoulders, so I just consider them all headshot. The one was in the neck, the back of the head, in the forehead, and then in the left eye. Yeah.
And you are a miracle.
Yeah.
Speaking with me right now.
On that, I didn't really think that I was going to survive that, It was, to explain it just a little bit, just to scratch the surface a little bit, it's just like a hot itch on the inside of you that you can't get out. And it just has the inside of your body, is malfunctioning, if you will. It's just your thoughts are racing, you're bleeding, your heart is racing. It's, it's very surreal.
So after the first time that you were shot, what was going through your mind? Because you didn't lose consciousness the first time that you were shot, correct?
I didn't. You're right.
What was going through your mind after the person shot you the first time?
Honestly, the first thought that was going through my mind is the first initial thought is, oh man, I'm about to die. That's your first thought is I'm about to die, and then it becomes like, am I going to die? And then before that, your life starts flashing through your eyes. Like, it's just like, dang, the people that you're going to leave behind, the people you don't want to you kind of want your mama. You just wish your mama was there. Like, it gets, your mind is just racing, but you're trying not to do too much, trying not to fall asleep, and just wondering how long it's going to take before you get better, if you get better,
How long were you in the hospital?
I was in the hospital about 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. Yeah. And I left early because I'm prone to infection just off my last accident. Now, when I first met Dr. Goldberg, I was involved in a very bad, what they call a fatal car accident, where my car was ran into in the back by a drunk driver who plowed into the back of me, making my car flip down the street and then wrap around a pole upside down and then burst into flames, which is how I got the 3rd-degree burns on the body. And at that point, they were calling me the Bionic Man because it took 17 recovery surgeries just to keep me alive and back together. And Dr. Goldberg, that you just met right there, was the I want to say the brains behind that operation, but she was the leader of that. It was her voice that I kept hearing firmly, right before I blacked out. So, but it's.
You saved your life only once, but twice.
Yeah. Well, that's all that we're going to talk about right now, because.
Yeah. So the Bionic Man. So you are the Bionic Man. Are you?
It was the.
From injuries from being shot?
I do. I have, as far as the injuries after being shot, my the vision in my left eye is not as good as it was. It's real blurry sometimes. And then I got a bullet that's sitting right at the top of my spine and in the bottom of my skull. And you can feel it every time you rotate the neck, because it's right there. But however, though, I don't, look at that. I just count my blessings, though, because they said the way that it is and the way that it was, the way that it came into me, I should have been paralyzed because the top of my spine is actually in pieces, shattered, if you will. So, my equilibrium is a little off, but, I could not be using my legs. So, and even from the first accident, from the car accident, they didn't even know if I was going to walk at that point, because the legs were broken in so many places. And as far as the accident, my left arm is still paralyzed. But and that hurt. that one really hurt, and I blacked out from it. But the shooting was just, it was, because at that point you're just like, it's over now. You don't really think you're going to survive those shots. I have friends that died from a lot less, just a single shot to the stomach, or a single shot to the neck, so yeah. That's all that
ever apprehended?
No, they weren't apprehended. And that's just the thing, like, with all the gun violence going on in the city and everything. And then sometimes in some cases it ends up being no justice for the family, especially if like you lose your life behind the shooting or something. Then you leave your kids behind, your wife behind, your mother, anybody like that. And then when they don't catch nobody, you really get no justice. Then it just leaves a lot of unanswered questions, like what happened, what was he doing there, what was the motive behind it, things like that. So,
Yeah. But like you said, you were just going to the store, minding your business. And how many, you said it was four gentlemen who kind of came up to you to rob you. And here you are just minding your business. And tell me, if you don't mind, walk me through What happened? Did it happen in the store when you came out the store? Tell me what happened.
Honestly, I try not to, because like the detectives are involved in everything. I try not to like, do my own investigation and everything. But when I entered the store, though, there was a female that was in there, and she was like texting on her phone. And of course, I noticed that she didn't hit the ATM or order anything, or maybe she was just had already ordered and she was sitting there waiting. But I was able to go in there and get my food, order it, retrieve it, and then hit the ATM, all that, and she still hadn't got her food. So thinking back, before I walked out of the store, she had just said, she made a comment to me that was, "Be safe out here, like watch your back, like be safe out here." And then
you got money from the ATM when you were in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I made a withdrawal, and it's how I, paid for the food and everything like that. And so she was just like, "Be safe out, be safe out there." She was on her phone texting. So, when something happens to you, let's say, for instance, we won't even take the shooting. Let's say, for instance, if you're inside of a room and there's multiple people in the room and someone steals something like your cell phone off the table or anything like that, you're automatically going to point your finger at everybody that's in that room because you don't know who did it, but you know that somebody here did it. And you're going to look at everybody. At this point, you're not going to trust anybody. So I didn't want my feelings to get to where it was like, I walked out the store after this girl told me to watch my back, and I was approached by, she looked at me and was like, "Come on, maybe he'll be all right out here, but just watch your back." It was like she knew my fate when I walked out of that store. That's what, when I start putting it together, that's what I think. She was texting the whole time. I didn't see her order nothing, make no comment, just texting. So I was thinking it may have been a setup, but at the same time, she was also the same female who waved down the cops after I had gotten shot. You know what I mean? So, maybe she didn't, maybe she was, now sometimes things like that happen to where like somebody could set you up, but they don't really mean you to get hurt though. You know what I mean? It might be like, "Oh, well, take something, but don't shoot them or don't hurt them or nothing like that." So when things get out of control, that's nothing that you can control, So
yeah. It was just all kind of coincidental for you when you don't know.
Yeah, I really did. And at the time, I didn't really start thinking about what may have really happened until after I knew I was going to be okay. Those were thoughts that came later on, because my initial thoughts was just surviving it. And, the people that I wanted, like I wanted my daughter there, my mom there, my grandma, was just like, man, what if they don't get to see me in my last breaths, You start thinking that. I don't want the doctors to be the last ones to see me alive, Yeah.
Well, Rasheed, you are truly a miracle child, the bionic man, and I thank you so much for sharing your story with me. And look at that smile; it's just awesome. So thank you, and I pray that you continue to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it started off as the bionic man, and then after being shot and returning, then they just simply came and said, "We're going to call you Mr. Nine Lives now."
Okay.
And then my grandma said, down here, she says that God saved you for a reason. And, if you're moving too fast in your life and he wanted to slow you down or anything, just know that it's all inside of his plan. You surviving wasn't no accident.
That's right.
And she says that, just if you weren't listening at the time that you were just, this is just to everybody else that may be going through this or anything like that, it's all in God's design. You see what I'm saying? And the most you can do is just try to stay in the light, on the right path. Bullets don't have no names on it. Like, you don't have to be part of anything. I was just merely just going to the store to get something to eat and then off to pick my mother up. You know what I mean? And I never made it to my mom. And so, but it's all God's plan though, and then she told me that, if you ever open a church one day, to thank God or whatever, we're going to call it the Church of Nine Lives.
Well, let me know. I'll come virtually.
Absolutely. You're always welcome.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah. I want to thank, the doctor. She was really a lifesaver. And then also you, Melanie, you're a good person, and nothing happens by accident. And out of this, I met good people such as yourself, Ian, some of your coworkers. I mean, really great people right there, really great energy, and I'm blessed to have it. So thank you for having me.
I would like to thank Dr. Amy Goldberg for all of her hard work and for more than 30 years of serving victims who were affected by gun violence. Thank you to all the doctors and nurses and caregivers who find it not robbery to be there for those who were victimized. There is a lot of work to be done in the city of Philadelphia, and we all have to work together to decrease gun violence. I am praying for a brighter tomorrow and a safer place for us to live. Peace and blessing.